Uh, yes. So we are going to begin now, and we are live on Ambedkar Karwan Media. We are going to bring to our audience a very special edition on the transformational leadership in the time of crisis that we are facing today, and the crisis in general, and how Baba Sahib Ambedkar fits into that model of a leadership that brings transformation in the society and the world. So today we are going to have a very special person here, Mr. Sanjay Khandagade, who is an engineer by his training and background, and also he pursued his MBA, and for last 28 years he has been working in different sectors. Particularly he is working in the oil and gas sector for 28 years. Right now he is based in the Middle East, and he is very multifaceted personality who has dabbled into several fields of OPC, like safety and production in charge, marketing, HR, project manager, and also deriving the strategies for the companies. And now at present, he is a partner director in two companies in the engineering and construction sector. He is very passionate to build sustainable EPC organizations and businesses. He is very avid reader, master coach for CEOs, and loves to conduct leadership seminars. So he is the kind of a person who is well suited for this particular dialogue as to how Baba Sahib Ambedkar brought the transformation through his leadership. And he has also written a lot on what we know now as the emotional intelligence, and his papers have been published in the United States of America, and he has been mentoring hundreds of students and youths from various slums uh, in Pune, in Mumbai, and all over the places. He has a very unique sort of a background. His life, since he began his professional career, he has been completely devoted uh, to the professional excellence, bringing in very much his experience, which he carries throughout his family background to serve community. And he is one of the persons whose life is dedicated to the mission of Baba Sahib Ambedkar. So today we have a very eminent personality in Sanjay Khandagade Sahab, and we are going to begin by asking him a few questions about the transformational leadership. So welcome, Sanjay Khandagade Sahab. A very warm welcome to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mangesh. And I am pleased to be here with you and the entire team of Ambedkar Karwan Media. And very glad to discuss the transformational leadership qualities that are needed, that is the need of the hour in this moment of crisis. Hope everybody is taking care of themselves and following the governmental norms to take care of COVID virus impact. And I believe that we will certainly have fruitful and educative discussions as we go along.
So wonderful to have you, Sanjay sir. And let me begin with ask you, what is your view of and what do you mean by transformational leadership, and how important transformational leadership is to the Bahujan movement? So first, let us know what do you mean by the transformational leadership and its relevance to the Bahujan movement.
Okay, great. I think a very appropriate question at this point in time about what is transformational leadership. Okay, transformational leadership to me, from a Bahujan perspective or a Bahujan movement perspective, is one is uplifting myself as an individual to a level that I can deliver and take care of the society, and at the same time uplifting the people around us, the teams around us, in order to create a difference in the long run. So this is what is transformational leadership all about. Though it is not a leadership model as such, but I have put forth a model that would be really helpful for the community at large. And this is the model I propose. I hope everybody is able to get this on their screens.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, what I'm talking about is as the world is facing what we call it as VUCA, that is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. This is all across the world. There are constant challenges for an individual, for a team, for a society, for a country, continuously from moment to moment. Okay. And this is where we need to really evolve a leadership that needs to be evolved in a certain way, so that the individual benefits, the society benefits, and the country benefits as a whole. Okay. The Now what is constant is change, because change is going to be continuous as we go along, and a person who doesn't change, change will change him. A society that doesn't change, change will change that society. A country that doesn't change, change will change that society. You might have seen this in this VUCA situation, that is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. If you are not ready, if you are arrogant, what happens? And if you are resistant to change, what happens? You know that. Okay. Take, for example, the European countries who are not ready for the COVID virus, despite knowing what is going to happen and despite a role model in front of China as to what was happening. Okay, people just wished-washed away, and then what happens was huge number of casualties happened in those countries. And that is why this change is so dynamic that if you are not aware, if you are not able to really gear yourself up to the next level of change, what is going to come in, you then have to face the consequences. Okay. Additionally, the Bahujan movement has to face another consequence of the curse of caste, the curse of so-called what do you call, the dogmatic ways of dealing things, the curse of keeping the society at large constant, so that few people will may be the decision makers, and that is what is impacting India as such and the Bahujan movement as such. Okay, and that is why transformational leadership is very much essential, because at the heart of transformational leadership is our capability to adapt and surpass the continuous change that is happening around us. Okay, the change might be the change in attitudes, the change might be the change in situation, the change might be the change in squeezing the resources, the change might be the change is not giving enough opportunities, the change might be subduing, okay, suppressing dissent, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is what we are facing right now in India as such. And if you take it to a larger part of the world, we are facing the same issues as such. So my concept of transformational leadership essentially derives its inspiration from the total leadership given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, and it is in this context that I have the five what you call different arms of transformational leadership that needs to be really cultivated for a society to really progress. Okay, and the first part, as I said, the first part starts with what is called as personal mastery. Okay, unless and until you attain this personal mastery, or you are in the journey of self excellence, it will be very difficult for you as an individual to sustain and create an impact in the world. Okay. And this is where we need to be very much aware of what our deep driving desires are. Okay. How do you capture the skills, knowledge, and the capabilities that are required in order to excel in this world? And how do you create impact by your actions? So that is something called as a personal mastery. I will go into detail as we go along, and this is an essential cornerstone in the transformational leadership model. We will derive inspiration from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who had, and what do you call, he had personal mastery par excellence in his own life. Okay, and that is how we are going to see the second area where we are going to look at transformational leadership is identifying and developing leaders at all levels, whether in the society or whether in the country or whether across the world. So this is a very important aspect in the transformational leadership model, because a leader cannot be a leader unless and until he has capable what do you call leaders under him. I don't call them followers, okay, because it becomes a very derogatory term, and followership comes with an authoritarian leadership, which is not really a part of transformational leadership, though sometimes it needs to be used. But then um, basically here we are talking about a leader who leads leaders, and that is why identifying and developing leaders is the key as far as the second aspect of transformational leadership is concerned. The third is we are a part of society. We owe a lot to society, and we need all the elements in the society to really progress. And this is where all the leaders and the leaders down the line needs to ensure that the society in which they live, the society that is connected to them, and uh, those people who are connected to their movement, or even otherwise also, even they are your opponents, even they are so-called people who obstruct your progress and all those things. We all form a part of the system, and that is why we need to ensure that the society needs to progress in the right direction. uh, as far as societal progress is concerned, no society can progress really without having economic progress in place. And that is why the pillar of economic progress is very, very important, not only for an individual, for the society, but also for the country at large. And that is why we have taken this particular perspective in the transformational leadership, where along with societal progress, we need to have an economic progress. The true test of transformational leadership comes from really making an impact into the world and creating a better world as we go along. And this is where I personally feel that these are the five elements of transformational leadership that are very much essential in the current circumstances and the future circumstances that are going to come. As far as the Bahujan movement is concerned, all these five elements really are required, and that is the need of the hour right now, because what is happening is the volatile situation that is existing, the uncertain situation that is existing, the complexity of caste that is impacting us, and the ambiguity of what what the people with diverse viewpoints are trying to really do in this country is really very, very important. And Bahujans are caught in a dilemma as to what to do right now, because one is very few people have personal mastery. They have very few leaders that are developed across the gamut of the society. Society progress in terms of social, economical, cultural is very poor. Economic progress is not to an extent that really that a society can sustain, and creating a better world is a distant dream. So I think we lack all these elements in the transformational leadership model in the Bahujan community as such. As the challenges are enormous, the struggle is immense, and unless and until Bahujans try to really take up challenges and convert them into opportunities through self-mastery, they will not be able to really develop leaders, make progress in society, and create an economic progress and be an inspiration to the world. So this is what, Mangesh, I personally feel, and this is the model that I have put in place, called as a transformational leadership model. Now, there are various leadership theories which I'm not going to get into, but then we will talk about what is essential for India as a whole, and how do we really create an impact in the world that is to come.
So that was a very good overview on what does it mean by the transformational leadership. And as we can see that this model is so important for the community itself to take it further. Sanjay ji, now looking at this transformational leadership and the leaders that we are talking about, the larger question is, are these transformational leaders born, or how are they made? Like, do we need to be born with those qualities to be a transformational leader, or do we cultivate those qualities within us to become the transformational leader? What is your opinion about this? What do you mean when we talk about the transformation leaders? Where do they come from?
Okay, great question. I think before we really step into this particular question, I would really take you through the details of the transformational leadership model. And first is what is called as personal mastery. Okay, personal mastery can be said as a person's ability to create the future he wishes to create. Okay, so unless a person has a deep desire to create a future that he wants to create, and unless he is loyal to it, and unless he acts on it, he will not be able to achieve personal mastery. So we take the example of Baba Saheb from moment to moment in every lecture of mine, or every point that I am saying here. As I said, Baba Saheb was a person with a personal mastery par excellence. Okay, Baba Saheb was never born a leader; he became one. So I am of the opinion that a leader is never born; he's made. Okay, and one becomes a leader by choice, not by compulsion. Okay, a leader who becomes a leader by compulsion doesn't last long. He should have the deep driving desire in order to really create the future he wants to create, and that is very, very important. And for that, if you look at Baba Saheb, okay, uh, he was very, very authentic, okay, in his own way. He never compromised on anything. Okay, he acted with integrity at any point in time. Okay, and he had the ability to change the circumstances, then what we call it as changing the current reality, and he had the ability to create new realities in order to create a better future for himself, his own people, and the most lovable country that he loved about. And that is why he said, I am a first Indian and a last Indian. So what I am saying is that, I mean, partly answering your question is that a leader is never born, he's made. Okay, and from the entire journey of Baba Saheb, if you really look into it, that he was very authentic. Okay, and a leader can be authentic only when he is self-aware. Okay, now, most often than not, what is lacking in the entire community or the entire world is that the lack of self-awareness. Now, you might say that this is a very silly thing that to talk about, but most often than not, people are born, they live their life, and they end their life till such time they don't know what they are doing. I mean, that is the situation of the people. But a person who is self-aware, okay, who is authentic, he knows why does he exist, what he has to do in life, what he has to achieve in life, how he has to contribute to his own society and the country that he lives in. And for that, he is really very, very self-aware from moment to moment to moment. And that is why we need to be very clear that why people don't achieve leadership excellence in their life is because they are not at all self-aware. The second aspect is acting with integrity. Okay, Baba Sahib was a highly integrated individual in terms of his word, in terms of his speech, in terms of his deeds. And that is why what we call in a leadership parlance is, apart from self-awareness, he was able to manage his own self very well. Okay, and that is where most of the community lacks in terms of managing their own selves. Okay, and managing your own selves, you need to be highly self-aware, then only you'll be able to manage your own selves. Otherwise, what happens is people start with big dreams, and since they don't manage their own selves well, okay, they leave their dreams as it is, and then they don't achieve what they want to achieve in life. And that happens with all common people that are there, who have a dream of really excelling, but they never excel in life. And that is why this self management is very, very necessary. The other aspect of personal mastery is building your ability to change the current realities. Okay, and this is a very great aspect that needs to be looked at through Baba Sahib also in his entire lifetime, that even he was very, very critical of his opponents, very critical of the philosophy that was prevalent at that time, very critical of the laws that were prevalent at that particular point in time. But he built his own network, okay, and he managed his relationship very well. So managing relationship really helps in changing and creating better realities. And that is why Baba Sahib was a unique example, in a sense that he had great self-awareness, he had great self-management skills, and he had great relationship management skills, where he built his own great network from all the communities, okay, and build in order to build a greater society and a great society as he went along. So just to give you a glimpse of why it is very important for the Bahujan movement people to have self-awareness and self-management, that will really explain to you why we are not really effective and why our movements are not really effective. Okay, so there is a research which talks about that when a person with person who is self-aware, okay, he has a 50% chance of demonstrating self-awareness. That means if you are not aware, okay, you will be very least likely to really demonstrate self-management in your life. And that is what is happening with the individuals, the community at large, is because we are not at all self-aware, so we are hardly able to manage our own selves. Okay, and this is where the self-awareness part is very, very important. And rightfully, Baba Sahib has given the path of the Buddha. Okay, and it starts with self-awareness. Okay, so you know who you are, what you are supposed to do, meditate, and you become more and more self-aware. Okay, so if we are not following this particular path, then there is least likelihood that you will be able to manage your own self. Let's say if a person is not at all self-aware, okay, then a person has no chance of demonstrating self-management. And that is why what you see is, since we are not aware in our own selves, okay, we are not able to demonstrate self-management. So whatever initiatives you start, initially you start in a big bang, and then over a period of time you are not able to manage your own self, manage your own teams, and then the initiatives goes for a toss. And this is where we need to be very, very clear in terms of having self awareness as one of the cornerstone for your own selves, and self management as one of the factors that needs to be considered in the right earnest in the individual, in the society, and in the country at large. So I personally would like to really look at personal mastery, that a person who really wishes to create a better future for himself, if he has the deep driving desire and if he acts, then he can certainly achieve personal mastery. He can be a great leader. Okay, look at the athletes. Okay, no athlete is born athlete. Okay, but by sheer dedication, commitment, and training, and never giving up attitude really makes a great athlete at any point in time. And that is why, to answer your question, Mangesh, okay, leaders are not born, but they are made by sheer commitment, dedication, training, and taking risks, even though the atmosphere is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous at any point in time.
So Sanjay ji, as you say that the leaders are not born, they become leaders by their efforts. They become leader by the mastery they have over themselves, and they sort of commit themselves to the individual mastery, and at the same time helping the community around. So this is a very nice and clear explanation whether the leaders, the transformation leaders, are born or made. Moving to the third and very important question, Sanjay ji, what do you think? Do you see transformational leadership and distributed leadership in the present era of Bahujan movement?
Very critical question at this point in time. Now, the society that we live in, okay, is has its own problems, has its own challenges, and since times immemorable, there are revolutions and counter revolutions that are happening. And day by day, what is happening is as communities try to emulate the middle class model of sustaining themselves. Okay, it is said from a social parlance that all societies who are at the lower rung of society, they try to emulate people above them. And because of that, what has happened is, even though we have got opportunities thanks to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, okay, but what is happening is all these people who are so-called literate, I would not say educated, okay, they have gained what you call the positions in the society. They have tried to really emulate themselves and follow a middle class model, whereby they get engrossed in their own selves, in their own small nuclear families, and since they have got opportunities for livelihood and what you call and respect in society, though, so they start to stay in that particular middle class model uh, of, uh, of of a small nuclear family and looking after that nuclear family itself. But what has happened is, because of this selfish interest, okay, the uh, larger purpose for which they should really strive for, that is really missing in the entire society at large. So what we have become is a middle class society with no prospect of really transforming oneself or the society or the country beyond that particular point. And everybody has achieved what is called as an entitlement mentality, whereby they are trying to really ensure that I am entitled to XYZ, and if I don't get it, then I will not do anything to really improve myself and improve the society at large. And this is where I think that the entire Bahujan movement has got into the trap of the middle class mentality of looking at one's own selves and not really bothering about the society at large, and not really creating excellent leaders all across the society and the country at large. And that is why the transformational leadership model doesn't really rely on one leader. Okay, it relies on distributed leadership across the society at large, and that is how these leaders then create macro and micro impacts in their own places wherever they are. So what is happening is a person gets overwhelmed by the situation and the challenges at hand, and it is always the endeavor of the people who are at the helm of affairs to create a volatile, uncertain, and ambiguous atmosphere for the new leadership to really survive. And that is how they try to really clip the wings of the new leaders that are being developed. And these leaders, since they don't have personal mastery, they really lose their inertia, lose their momentum, and they fall in the trap of a common man, thinking like a common man, that we are common man, and have the entitlement mindset as such. So I think the entire Bahujan movement as such is crippled with this sort of attitude. And this sort of attitude, partly as a psychologist also, I can tell you that over a period of, let's say a period of around 3,000 years, okay, these particular communities were really not given their due. And that itself has a psychological impact on them to really not to act, okay. But then we need to get out of the trap of what you call helplessness that is prevailing in the society. So the entire Bahujan society is trapped in something called as power of powerlessness. Okay, that means even though we have all the resources at our disposal, but because of our mindset is so rigid, okay, that we are not able to act differently in our lives. So there is a power of powerlessness that always acts and tries to take these people down into the domain of common man fundamentals. And this is where I personally feel that we are gripped in what is known as helplessness, power of powerlessness, okay. And this is where we always try to find what is called as the path of least resistance. So what happens is, if a person is not really committed to his own desires or dreams or what he wants to become, okay, he tries to really find excuses, so called what do you call blames the system, and he really takes away himself from the system and tries to really live a cozy life without doing anything. And that is what is happening in the entire Bahujan movement as such. Uh, and the same was the thing when Baba Sahab was born. He came into the field, and from 1920 onwards, what Baba Sahab tried to really address is the power of powerlessness that was existing in the society. Okay, the helplessness that was existing in the society, the hopelessness that was existing in the society. Okay, to an extent, the intensity of power and powerlessness, the hopelessness has is not to an extent that was so rampant 100% at that point in time. But still, I would say that now also in the entire Bahujan movement, the power of powerlessness is to an extent of around 90 to 95%. And that is why we are as a society, we are not able to really create an impact. And as a society, we are not really developing. Apart from our parameters of development are getting a job, okay, and raising our own family. Beyond that, as a society, we are not really helping the society, or we are not really paying back to the society at large. So taking the example of Baba Sahib, since 1920 onwards, he took one initiative after another, okay, and he tried to transform the individuals, the women, the society at large, and also his opponents at large, to an extent that he was so supremely confident, full of personal mastery par excellence, that he was able to bring his opponents uh, together as his own friends. And they in turn also helped his movement in order to transform the society at large. So the whole idea of really activating the Bahujan movement is really to get this movement out of the power of powerlessness. No doubt, the society who is ruling will always try to really push you in the helplessness, the powerlessness, and the hopelessness mode. Okay, but to me, the definition of the leader is a leader is a dealer in hope, and he removes the people from the hopelessness, the worthlessness, and the powerlessness that exists in the mindsets of the people, and create them more hopeful, more powerful, and the same people then transform the world. And that is how the distributed leadership model has to be embedded in the Bahujan movement as such, because we cannot rely on one man leadership as was given by the great Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Okay, and that is why we need to really have mini Ambedkars across the Bahujan movement. Okay, so that they create an impact for the betterment of the society and for the betterment of the country as such.
Uh, that was very beautifully explained by you, Sanjay ji, that how the leadership needs to be distributed across the fields and across the geographical areas, and at this moment, how much we need a small mini Baba Sahib Ambedkar in the different fields and in different geographical areas. Moving on to a very important question in terms of, you talked about the psychology of leadership, and I think the psychology of leadership is very important to really deal with the problems or the crises, or as you said, volatility, uncertainty, complexities, and ambiguity that we face all the time. So how do we understand in terms of the psychology of leadership, and vis-a-vis that, where do we stand as a Bahujan movement? So on one hand, we have a psychology of leadership. On the other hand, we have a vast Bahujan movement. So where do we see that disconnecting point between the psychology of the leaders and the needs of the Bahujan movement?
Okay.
Sanjay ji.
Yeah, very pertinent questions. Now, if you look from a standpoint of psychology, the communities that are deprived, the communities that are not given opportunities, okay, they certainly have that particular sort of what you call an inferiority complex, as we say it, okay. But apart from the inferiority complex that is there in people, even though they are qualified, they hold positions, but still they are not impactful, is because uh, the society doesn't create a structure that promotes a good behavior. For example, if you look at Baba Sahib, when he became a barrister, came back to serve the king of Baroda at that point in time, even though he was a person with exceptional qualifications, exceptional capabilities, but the structure at that particular point in time was not appropriate for him, and they didn't allow him to function at all. Okay, so we need to be very, very clear that creating this structure that will promote a good behavior is very, very essential. And that is why Baba Sahab, all through his life, tried to create a structure that will promote a good behavior for people to really respect each other, live together, grow together, and create a better society together. So creating this, apart from the psychology that we are talking about, leadership, okay, and typically about the people who are deprived, let me go to something called as why there is a leadership crisis anywhere. Okay, so if you because of the opportunities that we got in this great country, uh, we are able to get our skills and knowledge. Okay, we are able to study. Okay, but these skills and knowledge needs to be demonstrated, okay, in order to create an impact. And why this is not happening is because if you really consider an iceberg where the tip of the iceberg is really visible, okay, but the bottom part of the iceberg, which is 90%, is totally invisible. Okay, so for an individual, in order to be confident, in order to be what you call expert, in order to really demonstrate great capabilities, in order to change himself and change society, what is hampering is lies under the level of unawareness. Okay, and the under the level of unawareness lies what is called as self image. What does a person think about himself? Okay, what he, in terms of his social role, what does he think about? What is his behavioral traits that he exhibits, and what is the motive that drives his behavior? That is very, very important. So even though you have good skills and knowledge, but internally if the person is really not aware that and he holds a great self image, he holds a great social role in his mind, he exhibits great behavioral traits. Okay, and his motive that drives the behavior is very, very important. So in the entire Bahujan movement, what is happening is, because of the complex situation and the curse of caste that exists, irrespective of whatever skill and knowledge you have, okay, the entire system acts in such a way that you look at yourself from a demeaning perspective in terms of your self image. You look at yourself as a social role that you belong to such and such caste. Okay, the behavior that is impacted because of all these things, and then the motive drives down. And that is what is happening in the entire Bahujan movement, that irrespective of your skill qualifications and all, if you are not given the opportunity to really exhibit or demonstrate your knowledge and create an impact, then partly it is responsibility of the individual. 90% is the responsibility of the individual, and 10% is the responsibility of the structure or the systems that exist in society. So we need to be very, very clear that a person has the ability to change society, provided he wants to. And that is where, unless and until you are supremely confident about your own self, in terms of your self image, that I am a person of very high caliber and I am here to create an impact in the society, okay, that should be the self image a person should hold. Our social role is to be a change agent in the society. Our behavioral trait should be taking one initiative after another in order to really make a difference, have a problem solving approach, take one challenges over other. And our motive should be to really create an impact. And that is how we will be able to really move ahead in the parliament that we are talking about. So looking at this particular psychology of leadership, we as elite members of the society should be able to inculcate a sort of personal mastery, should be able to create systemic structures that really impact an individual and impact and society, and create better structures so that we create a difference. Okay. For example, I will just tell you that till 1956, okay, what was ruling this particular country was the old constitution. Okay. When Baba Sahib was given an opportunity to really prepare the constitution, okay, what happened? In his excellent project management skills, in a span of 2 years and few months, he was able to create a structure that impacted the country for the long run. Okay. And the development, the forwardness of the communities that we are seeing right now is because he created a structure, and that structure now promotes the behavior in the entire community, and the country gets ruled by something what is known as the rule of law. Okay. And that's where I personally feel that in the Bahujan movement, we need to take care of the psychological aspect of leadership. Okay. Understand people and why they are not able to perform, and at the same time create a superstructure whereby this structure will promote a productive behavior, and many leaders can really be developed as we go along.
So Sanjay ji, you want to say that looking at what you are sharing with the audiences today, do you feel that there is a kind of a crisis in the Bahujan leadership? How do you look at the present states of affairs in terms of the leadership? You think that there is a crisis in the Bahujan leadership, Sanjay ji?
The crisis is in the community as such, because any community gets into a crisis when it is not able to develop capable leadership across the community or the society at large. And this is the problem plaguing the Bahujan movement from times immemorial. And one of the deep down psychological factors is that we are so much trying to be living in the comfort zone, that unless and until there is a crisis, we don't really act. So what happens is, I mean, you take any examples as we go along. Okay. Unless and until somebody comes along and tries to really criticize you, till such time you don't act. And that is a typical way, psychological makeup of the society is at large that we are living in. Okay. Now let's take the example of renaming of the Marathwada University, the banning of the books written by Baba Sahib Ambedkar, riddles in Hinduism. Let's take the latest SC/ST Atrocity Act. Okay. So from these three few examples, what has happened? You just look into it. Unless and until there is a crisis, the community doesn't come together and leadership doesn't emerge. Same thing during the riddles time also. Okay. Leadership started emerging, and those so-called leaders were forced by society to come together. Okay. It's a different question that they never stayed together, but then this happened. Take the case of the Atrocity Act judgments, and then the mass movement thereafter. Okay. So what the psychological makeup of the society is that till such time we are comfortable, we get everything in place, we will not be able to really foresee the future and try to create a better future. We are happy where we are. Okay. And this is where we are. So the society is in crisis in terms of its psychological makeup as such. Okay. And then what happens is, if the society wants to remain in a comfort zone, then there are leaders who become comfort leaders, in the society, and there are ample of them in the society. And this is where they are not authentic, or even though they are authentic, they lack integrity. Okay. And then the society doesn't really benefit from them. And that is what happens when you live in a comfort zone. Okay. Whereas if you really want to create uh, a society that really is going to rule for the future, then you need to have an action plan of really kicking the society out of the comfort zone. Pardon me for saying this, but we need to provide a burning platform at all points in time, give challenges to society one moment after another, so that they continuously keep up building the leadership capability and the capability of the individuals in the society, so that come any crisis, okay, they are ready and able and willing to really overcome that particular crisis or the challenge. And this is where in the Bahujan movement, what is happening is the crises have given leaders, and the moment the crisis gets over, the leaders get their own benefits, they go into the comfort zone, and then they forget the society at large. And this is what is happening. Okay. So we need leadership from all the perspective, okay, social, cultural, financial, from all the perspective. But we hardly find any apart from the political domain, and that too is a big question mark. So it's a great challenge that a society of this stature, a society at this point, inflection point of crisis, okay, doesn't have capable leaders to really lead the society. And I think we need to create really personal mastery in people, have a concrete program, understand the psychology of leaders, identify and develop leaders across the Bahujan movement in all aspects, in all streams of life, so that we certainly become a community that cannot be ruled by others, but we become rulers. That is a tall order as such, but hope drives the behavior.
Yeah. Sanjay ji, that was very beautiful, and we have almost covered the various aspects of transformational leadership, its role in transforming the Bahujan movement, and how we can do that. There are a few questions from the audience. One of them is how we can train the Bahujan youths in this transformational distributed leadership, and what kind of a plan we should have in order to inculcate that kind of a spirit of transformation among our people, particularly how we build up our youths into transformation leaders. So that has been a question asked by a few audiences. So Sanjay ji, can you please enlighten us about the kind of a program that we should adopt in order to cultivate the transformation leadership among our youths?
Yeah, very nice. I think practical, actionable question that is being asked. Okay, so moving from theory, concepts to action is very, very important. Okay, as I said, leaders are not born; leaders are made. Okay, it is through sheer commitment, clarity, practice, and training and learning. Leaders are made. Okay. I'm not talking about qualifications. Okay, many people with decorated qualifications are the worst leaders and the most selfish people I have ever seen in my life. I have worked as a coach. I have coached people. I am a psychologist also. So, uh, uh, I mean, leadership is trainable. Okay, we can train people to be leaders, but the most important aspect, okay, to look at is, do the people really have the ability and the deep driving desire to create their own future? Okay, that is very, very important, and there are ways and means to assess it. Okay, uh, the other aspect in terms of training leaders is, are they really authentic? uh, do they have integrity with themselves and the community and the country at large? Okay, And are the leaders able to sacrifice themselves to change the current reality and create new realities for themselves, society, and the country at large? Okay, this is the main question that needs to be answered. Okay, and if we get the right talent to really who are really authentic, who have great integrity, and who believe in the movement and the future of creating a better future for the society, that stands as a base in order to really move ahead. And then train those people. Okay, training is a program that can last for depends on the capability of the individual, because billions of pages are written on leadership. Okay, but we can have a concise program of few individuals who really have that sort of a capability of getting personal mastery done. Okay, to really come in the fold, train rigorously, and then move ahead. Of course, we can have a great plan. I have done leadership programs, okay, and I have trained people, and many of us among us are equally capable. So let's say we can first see any training in order to get an impact has to have three elements in place. Okay, number one is the person to be trained is very important. Okay, the identity of the institute, that is very important. And the third thing is the resources. Okay, and all these things have to really come together in order to create a good training program. Okay, and creating a good training program is very easy, as I would say. Okay, but the creating an institution and creating resources is the biggest issue. Okay, if there is a deep driving desire, then it can be done, and I personally believe it has to be done as soon as possible. So it depends on what are we looking at. Are we doing I mean, leaders for leaders? You train first, train the trainers, sort of a thing. Okay, give them an intense workshop. Let's say either in Nagpur, where we usually hold programs, Naglok, NNBK, or whatever Manuski Institute or other institutes that we have. Okay, uh, create resources there. Money is one of the resources that needs to be really arranged first in order to really move ahead. Okay, and we can take a batch of around, let's say, 20 people initially, train them for a period of 3 months. Okay, 2 months offline and 1 month in person, uh, and then move ahead to the next phase of developing more leaders. So we need to have a proper strategic action plan in order to move ahead in this particular aspect. Doable very much, but then commitment is the key. Wherever there is commitment, okay, uh, dreams have come true.
So, Sanjay Khandagade Saab, that was a very amazing sort of an information on transformational leadership in the time of crisis, and looking at Baba Saheb Ambedkar, his life and mission, and how today we can develop a transformational leadership in the community. That was a very important and useful information. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time to guide our youths in terms of how they can develop the transformational leadership. It's important to the community. Thank you so much for joining in, and we will invite you soon for another session. And we would like our youth to know what are the upcoming opportunities in the different fields. And as an expert, we would like to invite you in the future as well. Thank you so much for being with us.
Certainly. And just a parting shot from me.
Yeah.
Baba Sahab had a personal mastery par excellence. He has given everything to us in order to become masters. Okay. But then he has also told that I have brought you here and created a better society for you where you will be respected and honored. But you should not get entertained here for fun. Okay. Move ahead, and you have a larger role to play. That is, uh, you have the ideal of Buddha in front of you. Okay. And you create a society that is Buddhamay or Prabuddhamay. Okay, so that is the great what do you call direction that he has shown to us. Okay, so don't live in a fool's paradise by getting these meager benefits of self-respect. Move ahead, and there are thousands in the world who need this sort of a self-respect and humanity and human rights at large, so that we create a better world to live in the long run. So this was the dream of Baba Saheb. This was the direction in which we all need to move ahead in order to become capable leaders and transform yourself, your society, your country, and the world at large. Thank you so much for the great opportunity, and I appreciate Ambedkar Karwan Media for arranging this particular lecture. And I am more than happy later on to really contribute in whatever way possible for building leadership across the Bahujan community at large. Thank you so much.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dear audiences of Ambedkar Caravan Media, as our speaker today said, that we have to take this caravan ahead and we need to build our leaders. We have to work on many fronts. We have to develop leadership across the fields. And we are going to bring to you periodically eminent speakers from different fields from our community to guide our youths in this particular, in this direction. So thank you so much for watching. And thank you all.
Thank you.